WBGO's news and editorial director, Doug Doyle.
Thanks, buddy. Hi, everybody. So glad you could join us tonight. This person I'm about to introduce is a history book who is open to all kinds of stories, and you will hear some of them tonight. He's also one of the greatest jazz or just piano players in the world. But more importantly, he's so fun to be around. His energy is infectious. His music is amazing. So without further ado, the wonderful Monty Alexander. Monty couldn't be here tonight, but accepting on his behalf, there he is. Woo! Monty, you speak through this lady of yours that became a friend when you were a small child, the piano. Please take us back to Jamaica before we start.
I want to say hello, everybody. Thank you for coming here this afternoon to hear me play, talk, and Doug too. This is a sensational gentleman, Doug Doyle, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Monty.
I'm going to have a good time interviewing you.
Nobody's here for that, Monty.
No, okay, all right. So do I talk a little? Talk.
You're going to perform for us first, and then we're going to have a little chat.
All right. So. My mother used to sing this song in the house.
Please join me, Monty. Fabulous.
We'll
Some of you might not know that it all started in Kingston, Jamaica, but Monty has since got appointed in January of last year as a member of the Order of Jamaica, basically like a knighthood. I guess you did okay. What does that knighthood mean to you?
I have no idea, boss. I was just minding my own business. This music thing, gift that came from above, the Creator, kept me out of trouble. That's right. Because I was just a aimless kid, wandering around looking for fun, you know? And music came to me from a very early age. So I just kept going, playing the piano, and I noticed the people come around the piano, yeah, play, play, play. And I felt good. And then my mother said, we're going to go to America. When I was just 17 at the time. And that was like a dream, you know? So I would always talk about Jamaica. Now, this was when the British were still there, because independence came in the early 60s, 1962, independence. So I grew up under the British experience. And it's a little different, you know? So somebody said Monty Alexander is doing a good thing for Jamaica. And this is before Bob Marley came to Kingston. You know? We love Bob Marley, but before Bob Marley, and what happened as far as this wonderful thing called jazz, I would go to the local theater, our version of Radio City, call it. It's called the Carib Theater, and that's where they brought all the rhythm and blues artists. And I went and I saw my heroes. I heard these guys rocking, including Brooke Benton and Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson and Frankie Lyman, all this music coming from America, right? But then I saw my number one hero, and when he talked like this. Hey, good evening, everybody. It was Satchmo. And I saw Satchmo. My dad knew the promoter, and I went backstage and I shook Mr. Armstrong's hand. Didn't wash it for about 2 months. And that was my hero, Satchmo. And that's, they say, one of the fathers of this music, right? So I got, a dose of some real music from America, this USA. I wanted to come to America where Superman flew out of those windows. And really, so I was a kid dreaming about this thing, because I didn't understand it. I didn't even understand how I play this beautiful instrument that gave me such a joyful experience. So the Order of Jamaica definitely is something really to be appreciated, honored, and respected. The University of the West Indies gave me doctoral letters. Folks, I appreciate that, but I still can't figure out what that means. And I'm absolutely serious, because it's nice to be important. Way more important to try to be nice. That's my attitude. So this music is a tremendous gift. If you get serious, this is how we can heal certain things. It's not going to do it. It's not a perfect answer, but it brings people together, brings a little smile to your faces, to your hearts. And I guess all this coming together, you must have seen that I was worthy of being looked upon in that regard. So they say it's like a knighthood, and I appreciate it very much. And we say, big up yard, meaning big up Jamaica.
Wonderful. You may or may not know that Monty was named after the British General Montgomery. And in fact, he was born on D-Day.
I'm 39.
People can figure that out, So we're not going to reveal your age right now.
Right.
But before we have you go back to the piano, it's not just about the past with Monty Alexander. He is releasing a new album coming out, D-Day Voices. You keep pumping it out, don't you?
Somebody suggested, you know what, since you were born on D-Day, this June the 6th makes it 80 years. So I'm the same age as that fateful day, the beginning of the end of the Second World War. And Jamaica being under the British system, nobody said, let's call him Abe Lincoln. They said, we won't call him after the great British general, Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery. And indeed, they called me Montgomery, and that's a great name. You know, this man was very revered on the battlefield and had, you know, the success while Dwight Eisenhower was in charge of the American forces, Charles de Gaulle for the French. And I made this recording as sort of a statement saying, this war thing is a better way to go about things. Be restrained and try to find that thing called peace. So my D-Day record is me saying that, you know, in the music. And we played some songs of the time that came out in that period, sentimental but also original. So I'm pleased I did it. Hit a few clinkers here and then, because that's what happens when you had 2 strokes, like I did. And I said, these strokes were a gift for me, because it grew me up better. Because my left hand, when I play my piano, sometimes, wait a minute, I'm hitting the wrong note. So after I had this terrible thing called pancreatic cancer in 2012, the miracle came. I got healed, and instead of calling it chemotherapy, I call it chemosabe. And I tried to find, a guy said to me, look at the donut, deal with the donut, not the hole. So that's part of my way of getting through the day, looking for the positive. Bob Marley said, positive vibrations, you know? And that's what this thing can help me to be happy. If I'm having a bad day and I go play the piano, it's like better than aspirin. Yeah, I'm serious. So this music is therapeutic, and that keeps me feeling good about it, because I didn't earn it. And other than that, I was not a student. I didn't go to music school. I never learned. They tried to teach me, but I couldn't. Something in my brain wouldn't learn, and I was a lazy kid. But I heard this music from America, and I said, wait a minute, this thing is like make you happy, make you smile, make you tap your foot, make you shake, you know what? And that's what it did. So I lost out on a lot of musical experiences because I don't read music. I don't want to.
It's worked out okay, Monty.
Yeah, I guess so. But
you don't have to have any excuses about that.
I remember when a man I became really, really warmly friendly with, Mr. Tony Bennett, our beloved Tony. I started spending a lot of time with him, just me sitting with him while he tells me stories of olden times, you know. He said, I want you to play on my record, a new record. I said, well, gee, Tony, this is such an honor. He said, I'm gonna make a. I said, Tony, I don't read. I may mess up the session. I don't want to do that. He said, well, you know Christmas songs, don't you? I said, yeah, because one of the first songs you play as a kid, 3, 4 years old, you play Santa Claus Coming to Town, or these songs. I play them, whatever key. And I said, yeah, okay, I know them. So I'm going to do an album with the Count Basie Orchestra. So I want you to play like Count Basie. Just them plink, plink notes, you know? And that's what I did. And I plunked it, blinked it, and am I talking too much?
No, but we're going to get you back at the piano right now, because there's a couple of individuals who were instrumental in you coming to New York City. Jilly Rizzo and a singer by the name, I believe it was Frank Sinatra. So take us to the piano and take us to New York City, 1963.
With great pleasure. And I want to say that I was playing in a nightclub in Miami, Florida, and these clubs I played at were mostly operated by men associated with the underworld. I was an 18-year-old guy playing at these clubs, these bars, no question about it. Some people say the mob, some people say the gangsters. I just say nice people. And I learned to mind my own business and don't get too involved, but must have been swinging, because they'd come to me and say, hey kid, I like how you playing in between the cracks, you know. And sure enough, that I was playing in one of these places, and in walked Sinatra. Frank came with his friend Jilly. I don't know if you folks know about that world, but that was a big thing for me at 18 years old. I just come from Jamaica a year before that. I'm saying, what do I know? I know about bananas and mangoes. And and all that. And next thing you know, Mr. Sinatra, Mr. Gilly Rizzo, he said, get this guy. And one thing led to another. He sent me an airline ticket, and I came to play at Gilly's in the summertime of 1963. I was there for 3 years, and I got to be around Frank Sinatra on many occasions. Saw him when he had a few too many, for 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just there, keep swinging. That's what you say, keep playing, Monty, So as I mentioned Sinatra, I know I love all these songs, So let me have a go as if I can remember all I sing.
Monty Alexander, New York City, 1963 at Gillies.
Okay, so.
Guess you remembered. You were at the Key Club in Newark.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a lady who was there and wanted to do some singing. Why don't you have a seat and tell us a little bit about this lady that you got to perform with? I think we might know her.
So I'm playing at this place in Newark, New Jersey. This is all African-American social gathering. People come out to have fun, enjoy some whiskey. And it's called the Key Club. And I was playing with some beloved guys who treated me like so kindly. Helped me to get along. Bass player by the name of Earl May. Bruno Carr on the drums. It was just a little old rinky-dink piano. Wurlitzer. Nothing like this beautiful Yamaha piano. So I'm playing there, and I'm doing it because I was playing in all these kinds of places, whether they were from this scene or that scene I'm around. And by the way, coming from Jamaica, where we also are very multi-ethnic, multi-racial, multi-this, multi-that, I grew up with a family of some folks very white and some folks very black. So we're called wondrous variety, if I may use that phrase. So I'm in Newark, New Jersey, and I'm having a ball with folks. Yeah, man, you swinging. Keep on grooving, right? So I'm playing the piano, and it was exactly the time that movie came out with a song called Alfie. I'm playing, what's it all about, Alfie, right? So I'm playing the piano, I like the song, and I'm playing it again and again and again. Go back to the top, play the middle, we're having fun. The music is alive. The people sitting around the bar having their drinks, and one lady's in a house coat with big old curlers like she just got out of bed. Very dark complected woman, and sitting there, yeah, give me another one of them white Cadillacs. That's milk and whiskey. That's called a white Cadillac. I think that's what you do. And she's sitting there with I noticed her. So the bartender comes in, the piano is in the middle of the bar. he said, I'm gonna take the mic. And he grabbed the mic off this kind of mic, grabbed it, and he walked away. I'm playing my Alfie song. And all of a sudden he hands it to this person, and then I said, what's that? And the person said, what's it all about, Alfie? What? It was Sarah Vaughan. Miss Sarah Vaughan went at it. Wow, how about that? I accompanied Sarah. And that was about 60, I think it was about 67, 68. Because after Gillies and Mr. S and all of those fantastic things that happened, because let me tell you, the booze was flowing. And the people would come into this place, including, you'd see Johnny Carson, way over the top with the alcohol. I saw him, and he was very, when the alcohol got to some people, they behaved very poorly. And Johnny came in there and he did something with a particular lady who was the girlfriend of a very mean gangster. But back to the Key Club.
This is where we edit. We don't want you to go into that story too much.
It's very difficult because if I start telling my real story, it's not any music school stuff and what arpeggio and the chord. What do you do with this? No, it's life, because the life, the dangerous life, the happy life, the frivolous life, all of it goes into this, you know. So anyhow, Sarah said, I walked over and said, it's always nice to meet you. I said, hey, kid, I like how you play the piano. And I said, thank you very much. She said, give me your phone number, as if she's looking for a piano player. And through the years, I would see Sassy when she was performing with her own group or with the Basie band, or, you know. So what happened to me, I was the kid in the candy store. I'm meeting all these incredible human beings who did incredible things. And when they made music, it was just so wonderful. And I met the great Duke Ellington. Am I talking too much, man?
No, you're name dropping is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. But this is real stuff. It's not, I didn't get this out of a book. I had a guy met me in Florida. He wanted to manage me. I was like 18, because when I played the piano, I must have been making it some kind of spectacle. And kid, I want to get you on the Ed Sullivan show. I said, what was that? So he said, we're going to New York. And I went and had an audition at the very place where I ended up playing about a year after Gillies. Because this would be great for you here. And I'm no good with the so-called audition. And the guy said, play the piano. Very uncomfortable. I said, listen, I want to take you somewhere. We walked down Broadway to about 48th Street, the Brill Building it's called, right? Right nearby, right? And we went up the elevator. I'm kind of not sure the result of that audition, what that was. And he walks in and he said, hey, Uncle Irving. Who's Uncle Irving? And he says, hey, Steve, how's your dad? I said, fine. And over there is a man taking a nap on the couch. It was Duke Ellington. Duke taking a nap. And there is Steve. Now, what happened was, Steve Stark was the son of a man named Herman Stark. Herman Stark was one of the owners of the Cotton Club in Harlem. So there was they knew Steve as a kid growing up, but he wanted to be a manager of people, and he saw that he could manage me. But I'm unmanageable. In Jamaica, we said, no, man, I have a new manager. I said, but the guy really a damager. So anyhow, I met Duke, and he says, hey, Duke, so-and-so and so. Well, what ended up happening, I was trying to get my visa to be able to stay in America. And Steve said, Duke said, play the piano. And I would play something like I just did, and I must have thought I was okay. And then Duke said, what about it, Steve? What do you want? I said, well, we're trying to get his visa. Could you write a letter? So Duke Ellington wrote a letter to the U.S. Immigration to say that this young man has the talent and he should be allowed to stay in America. And so that was one of 4 letters that went to the immigration. The other one was Sinatra, wrote a letter. The other one was Basie. My mother went to the Eden Rock Hotel and harassed this man.
And the last one was BGO. They wrote you a letter too, didn't they? No, we weren't around at that time.
Oh no, but there was I remember the jazz radio in Miami, Florida, was WMBM, Mr. China Vallis, and he would play Gloria Lynn singing "I'm Glad Dear," and he had a theme song, Nat King Cole singing "China Gate." It was from a movie. Anyhow,
This story is going on now.
yeah.
So I want to get you back to the piano. You know, from the Montreux Jazz Festival, you've played at festivals all around the world. But I want to take you back to probably the most famous venue you've ever played at. And I think we all know it. The Bunch Park Bowling Alley in Opelika, Florida.
Bunch Park Bowling, I got to tell you, it's in Opelika, Florida. And once again, you know, this is all, we say soul. This place is all about soul. And people come, they bowl, and after that, they have a little quintet playing. And the band leader, they call him C Major, Clifton Major. And he's playing all the songs that Cannonball Adderley had recorded, you know. This is, by the way, I met, among all these terrific people, I met Cannonball. He was just a bundle of joy. And he's positive. He talked to the audience. So anyhow, I'm playing. The guy said, "I want you to play piano with us." I said, "Yeah, okay." And I knew all the tunes, playing the blues, the this, the that. And that was where I remember the club owner was a white gentleman, and he met my mother, and I was not happy because he hit on my mother, and that's not nice.
Another edit coming up.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Bunch Park Bowling Alley. Just imagine you're about ready to challenge with a split, and then all of a sudden you hear this piano player.
Okay, so it's about blues. See, I heard the blues music on the radio in Jamaica, New Orleans. It was like I was growing up in New Orleans. I'm hearing it on the radio. Louis Jordan's music. Bill Doggett, Fats Domino. That's how this whole Jamaican thing started. The people in Jamaica heard this rhythm, this music, right? It's just blues. But I love a guy named Bill Doggett, and that's what would have played at Bunch Park. And the people say, "Hey, play that again," right? Just some blues.
Ah, yes, it takes us back to our bowling alley days. Nobody at my bowling alley ever played like that, Monty. I can tell you that. So, those of you that have had the pleasure of hearing Monty on my podcast, Sports Jam, know that he is a huge boxing fan. But there are so many connections between jazz and boxing. From Archie Moore, who he became great friends with, has stories about Joe Louis. But I want you to tell the story about Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
You're allowed to sit.
Okay. So, as a kid, my father, he loved the boxing. And there was a boxing series, and I was 12 years old, and he took me to the fight. and the local Jamaican fighters. And to me, as a kid, I'm looking at it was in a cricket field where you play cricket, like baseball. And I'm watching this thing, and it reminded me of the bandstand when musicians are playing. I saw the lights, the floodlights in the ring. I just got excited, right? And I remember sitting in the bleachers, and you looked out there, and I could see the flies and the floodlights, flying around. And then the fighters came, and and it was, hey, that's a minor kind of violence, right? But as a kid, I'm just fascinated. It was like seeing the musicians play. It had to do with rhythm, with the way guys would box each other. So I became really a big fan of this sport, which some people don't approve of, because, hey, somebody get hit, the blood comes and the whole thing. But they govern how far you go with the violent thing. So I went back there to this particular place that would have the fights. And on one of those occasions, he was already a 45-year-old man, Sugar Ray Robinson, came to Jamaica. And I saw him from a distance. In fact, it was 3 or 4 years later I met the great, great Sugar Ray Robinson. And he was in California. By that time, he's working with Boys Club, helping the kids, you see? So I go to Miami now. Here I am looking forward to whatever that life is, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know one day somebody would hire me to play the piano in a bar. And I'll tell you bluntly, folks, we had a crowd of people that came there. A lot of those people were known as the pimps and the prostitutes. They're in the audience, right? You could feel it. Guy that may have been carrying a gun, seriously speaking. So you got to be careful. So one of the pleasures of being in Miami Beach, 3 blocks from where I lived, was an auditorium that every Thursday they'd have a boxing event. And I would go there regularly to see the various boxers, because I enjoyed it, just like when I go here to the jazz. So there were 2 guys standing in the lobby between 2 different fight events. And one of them was a very beautiful, both of them were dressed to the nines, like pinstripe, gray suit, tie, and sharp. And one of them was a guy I knew, saw him in Jamaica. I forgot his name, but he was standing with his friend. And the 2 of them, and I went to Alan Harmon. That was his name. Alan Harmon. I said, Alan Harmon, excuse my Jamaican accent. Alan Harmon, what man? You come from Kingston. I see you down there when you're fighting the guy down there, man. Boy, I can tell you really know to punch the left hook and the right jab and all that. And he said, yeah, how you doing? Very calm, very cool. And he's standing with the other guy, with the beautifully dressed man, the 2 of them. So I go back into the arena to watch this next fight. And I'm sitting behind 2 older gentlemen from New York or Chicago, and they're sitting there kind of with the cigar, And he said, hey, Irv. I said, the guy said, what? He said, you see those 2 guys walking in? And he said, he's got a big mouth. He's pointing at Alan Harmon. I'm thinking, no. He was pointing to the other guy who I had just met in the lobby. It was Cassius Clay. Not name dropping, folks. I'm just telling you, that was my first meeting this man. And right away I said, wait a sec, this man have this charisma, everything he says. What did he say, He was kind, as I read more about him, he was kind to children, to elderly people. He would go to the Jewish home, the elder people, and he was just so kind. And I was fascinated with this man. And I saw him on several occasions, and I'll tell you, in the boxing game, I turned down jobs to play the piano to find a replacement when I could go to see the fight. And people said, how could you? I remember one time I asked Tommy Flanagan, the great pianist, to take my place at a place called Fat Tuesdays. And when his wife found out, Diane, that I asked Tommy to take my place because I went to a boxing match, she never talked to me again. So I got crazy, and to this day, every Saturday night, I'll plunk down the pay-per-view, $60, whatever it is, to watch the young kids coming up, because it's like with the jazz, the beat goes on, it doesn't stop. So here I am, realizing that boxing and those guys came from the same neighborhoods, and the camaraderie between the fighters and the jazz musicians, and I'm speaking mostly the black fighters. Ben Webster, our great tenor saxophonist, was close to Joe Louis. you know. I was thinking before I was telling you, Ezra Charles fought Joe Louis, and he played the bass. Archie Moore wanted to play the bass. So there's a lot of connections with the boxing, you know.
Absolutely, and you went to Madison Square Garden for a closed circuit with Miles Davis. You've talked a lot of boxing with Frank Sinatra, who actually was much more involved in the sport than some others. But I know you have a special guest with you tonight, so I'd like you to bring up Luke Sellick, your bass player, and this time you get to select the song that you want to do for everybody.
All right, okay. Man, you're a cunning fella, you know that? I just want to say, this music that grabbed me is not this type of music or that type of music. It's just music. I like, when I hear something and I like it, boy, I'm into it. I could go on, but I met Ravi Shankar once. This man was such a gentle spirit, this guy. And he told me, John Coltrane came to his house to learn music. And the history of jazz is, my heroes. I had a great, great hero in the pianist, a man who departed from this world not so long ago. And he meant so much to me as a friend, because he was, to me, the most creative man, sat behind the piano and inspired me. He, along with Nat King Cole and Errol Garner, these are my heroes about piano playing. And it was the great Ahmad Jamal. Ahmed was my dear, dear friend. I loved him greatly. Errol Garner, I got to know him, and we hung out a little bit, and he was just a funny guy. He liked to play the piano. He didn't say much, but he just could play the piano everywhere. And the other one was one of my other heroes who came to Jamaica, Nat King Cole. And I never met Nat, but full circle, years later, I ended up being invited by his daughter to play on her album called Unforgettable. So I went to her house, and beautiful lady, Natalie, passed from a kidney failure. And those people meant so much to me. But every time I see somebody playing the piano, I got, what's he doing? What's that, you know? So everybody's got some story to tell. And but those three men I mentioned, those are my heroes. And then Art Tatum, right there. But then there's Vladimir Horowitz and Arthur Rubinstein. So all these men. But you know who I loved? Chico Marx.
So we have to bring Luke out now,
After
right?
all of that, I met this young man some years. I went to Smoke, the nice club uptown, to look for a certain musician that was recommended, the great saxophone player George Coleman. I said, man, you should check out John Webber. So I thought John Webber was playing at Smoke. So I was looking for a bassist that I could George Coleman, he's a wise man of several years older than me. He said, go get John Webber. So I go to Smoke, and I see a group playing, making swinging music. My friend Russell Malone is playing the guitar. He's got his combo. And on the bass, it's not John Webber. It's Luke Sellick. I want to invite Luke to come play a few of the tunes.
Luke Sellick, everybody.
Luke is from Winnipeg, Manitoba, up in Canada. A little colder there than it is right now, right? Here. So we've been having a ball. We've already been to India. You went to India, right? Yeah. And we've been to, name it, all over the place.
You know what, Monty? If you keep playing, you're going to meet some really important people someday. You've had a boring life.
Everybody's important.
My goodness.
Everybody's important.
You know, the thing about you that you told me backstage that I love, you said, I never asked anybody for anything. They came to me. And that just shows what kind of personality you've had through the years.
I mean, it sounds like promotion, ego, but no, I fight that ego, because the ego is where the stuff goes wrong. If you let your ego rule you, it's not as beautiful if you let the spirit move you, because we have this ego and that spirit, and they're fighting each other. And I realize that, But I had a point. I forgot.
You'll make it with the piano. Monty Alexander and Luke Sellick.
Okie doke. Okay. I wrote this thing called renewal, meaning no matter how bad it goes, you always have a chance to start afresh. It's called Renewal.
How about another one?
This next one, kind of a lamentation about when people depart and go to the great beyond. It's called Why.
Boy, am I glad there was a piano in your home. Because that was your friend. The piano was your friend. You said, your lady, right? And the connection that you had to this instrument from early on. But you've lost your passion. You can see it. There's no expression in your face while you're playing at all. You're just going through the motions now. You still love your friend, don't you?
This beats working. I feel guilty sometimes, but I feel blessed. I do, because I didn't earn this. It came to me, like so many other wonderful things. And when I play, if I get out of my own way, then incredible, wonderful things happen, you know. And I'm honored to feel like I give a little joy, because that's what it is, you know. It's about spreading positive, you know. And when I realize that there's no chance for me to not have that feeling, you know. So I just try to surround my world with positive energy, you know. If I run into a great musician who's not very cool, I run, you know. And there's a lot of guys who take themselves too seriously. Take the music seriously, but not yourself. That's my philosophy.
There was another path that Monty Alexander almost took. He showed me one photo on his phone before we started. It's a great photo from 1982 with Roy Rogers. Because the other choice, either being a piano player, was to be a cowboy. That's a great picture, by the way.
Yes, it is. Yes.
You weren't even eating chicken. That was way before Roy Rogers' Chicken Restaurant came about.
Well, a lot of us, my age, we love to go to the matinee on Saturday with the rest of the friends at school. Why? Because we want to watch the Westerns. And that was a period in America where that entertainment, I used to hear that if your parents wanted you to go to church, and you didn't go to church, but you went to see the Westerns, they were okay with that, because they were all stories about the good guy is winning. You know, it's naive. Yes, it's naive. But when you had those heroes on the screen, I saw these people, and I just loved them. So I'd go home and play these little tunes, you know, such as. To this day, if I'm feeling a little low walking down the street, I do this. Hodalay, 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 hodalay. I'll do that. And then I say,
Weren't you in that movie with in Austria? You were at that movie, weren't you?
Yes,
the
I was.
Sound of Music? You were in that movie, weren't you?
yes.
Yes, I remember you yodeling during that film.
But
Yes.
serious to speak, that comes from Switzerland, and somehow they picked up, like when you saw those guys dressed up in all these shiny things that came from the Mexicans, that would, when the horses, they would have all these the saddles with regale, you know, and they picked that up, and that became a standard thing, especially for the singing cowboys. And I heard these songs that people like Johnny Mercer and a lot of the great composers wrote songs like this one.
Spectacular.
So what?
Spectacular. You know, you're giving us this treat, but you make us happy, Monty. We need that so much. So before we wrap everything up, you lost a very dear friend not that long ago. You mentioned Tony Bennett, but you are also great friends with Harry Belafonte.
Oh, yes.
What do you want to tell us about that legend?
This man who's of Jamaican heritage, my mother had a crush on him. Boy, oh boy, that Harry, man. And he would see me and say, cousin. I'm not really your cousin. He'd say, yeah, you my cousin. In Jamaica, we're all cousins, you know. Everybody a cousin. People you don't know, you know. So, but he was so important to the furtherment of Jamaica. And this is before the more recent things that happened, you know, the Rastafarian culture. And he was this great, he started out with jazz. He got a job in the late 40s playing at some place on 52nd Street. And the musicians that were on the bill, he was the intermission guy singing a couple of songs with a fella playing the guitar. But the guys at the club that were playing, it was Charlie Parker, Max Roach, Al Haig on the piano, another who's the bass, I don't remember. But they liked him so much they'd go play with Harry, and that's how Harry got going. And that was his jazz credibility, let's put it that way. But then he started singing folk songs all over the world. So he was this singing guy, you know. But then he and his very good friend Sidney Poitier, they had a rib joint in Harlem, and another one down in the village, and they were just hustling. And then they went to what was the American Negro repertory place, and one thing led to another, and he got a call in Hollywood. Next thing you know, Harry's on the screen, knocking him dead, because he got that charisma, such a handsome man, and there he was. And then he was performing in Las Vegas now, and he's very popular. This man, the shirt is open, you know, and the ladies, oh, I love Harry, you know. But Harry had a big issue when dealt with racial prejudice, and Harry stuck his neck out, and he almost abandoned his career to go deal with this issue called civil rights. So this man was in the movies, he was in the recording the songs, and by the way, he had to put Jamaica on the map when he recorded "This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time begun," and that became like an anthem. And through the years, I would see him from time to time, and the last time, before he passed, the French government awarded him the Chevalier, that's the knighthood of France. And they invited me to come to the gathering. That's the last I saw him. He was already in the wheelchair. But I could go on about this man and he didn't mess around. He looked you in the eye. He said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "Harry, what can I do?" He says, "Be an advocate." I said, "Well, how do you do that?" You know. But Harry was this incredible guy, and he and Tony Bennett, incidentally, were the best of friends. When the march at Selma took place, Harry called all his friends and they dropped everything and went to Selma to march with Dr. Martin Luther King. So here's triple threat. He's a singer, he's a movie actor, and he's a man that did so much to make the world a little better. So Harry is super duper, not just entertain, you know, Mr. Belafonte.
Mm. Speaking of entertaining, you are a master storyteller, by the way, sir.
Yeah.
You really are. You can tell a great story.
Somebody called me Big Mouth. I talk.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But I'd love you to take us out with something that is special to you.
It's all special. I want to play a song that my dear friend, Mr. Jamal, he seemed to love the song. I sent it to him. It's called "You Can See." And he made up words. "You can see how much you mean to me," something like that. But I'm going to play "You Can See," and it's a little tune that I composed about 30 years ago. I said, this song he's going to like this. And I sent it, and he played it, recorded it. Here it is. "You Can See."
the great Monty Alexander. Who is the luckiest person in this room? Luke Sellick gets to play with this legend. What a special night it's been to share stories and listen to those two hands working your friend through all the years.
Thank you very much.
You are a magical musician.
Listen, man, I'm glad to get a job. Yeah.
Well, if you go back to that bowling alley, they might hire you.
I think so.
I think so.
Doug, I just want to tell you it's been a real joy and a pleasure having some fun here today. Thank you so much. And I could go on, but another time, you know. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Monty Alexander, everybody. Thanks to all of you for coming out tonight to share this special moment with this legend. We appreciate it. Have a safe drive home, and keep WBGO on your radio and on your mobile app.